Without further ado, come on, Mr. Shaw, and share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler.
Thank you. Well, I'm here today to talk to you about Harmony Hall and our ongoing efforts there to preserve it. It was built in 1760 by Thomas Richardson, and Thomas served as a colonel of militia during the Revolutionary War, and he was at the Battle of Moores Creek. He was a ship captain, and he wrecked off the coast of North Carolina, we think the Outer Banks, and his ship was destroyed, but he salvaged his cargo and apparently sold his cargo and came to Wilmington, came up the Cape Fear, and bought this property there in Bladen County on the north bank of the Cape Fear River. He acquired a lot of other property over the years, particularly after the Revolution, and accumulated quite a few thousand acres. And his farm was basically based on the turpentine industry. We're pretty sure, particularly being on the north bank of the Cape Fear. It's real sandy over there, not a very good agricultural soil, and so we feel he focused mainly on turpentine production and tar production, the naval stores industry. He was early supporter of the Revolution, took part in the Battle of Moores Creek, and he served to the end of the war, 1783. He was with General Greene a big portion of the time, and he had a militia unit attached to General Greene's command, and so he was away from Harmony Hall a big portion of the war. And there's an old legend, which I don't think is true, but anyway, I'll let you decide, that Cornwallis stopped at Harmony Hall, and General Greene's wife heard some plans he was making on attacking Greene in South Carolina. Well, that never happened. Or I don't think it did. I think it was just a legend that developed, and it was to generate interest in Harmony Hall. Cornwallis spent 2 days in Bladen County, and it was after the Battle of Guilford Courthouse on his way to Wilmington. He came down the south bank of the Cape Fear River, never got close to Harmony Hall. It would have been crazy for him to have visited Harmony Hall, because there was a group of mounted militia, patriot militia, basically shadowing him, and they were on the opposite bank of the Cape Fear. So he would not have left his army, gone over and spent the night at Harmony Hall, and certainly in danger of his life. I mean, that would just have been insane to have done that. So I'm positive he never. I read all the journals all the officers kept on his trip from Guilford Courthouse to Wilmington. But anyway, there's a sign up there that says Cornwallis slept here, and when I was in charge of the place, I took it down and hid it, but I should have thrown it in the river, because they've got it back up now. But anyway, it is what it is. The Layton family gave the Bladen County Historical Society 2.36 acres of land and the house in 1962. And basically the house just sat there for about 20 some odd years, because there was nobody really pushing the restoration, and so it was just sat there and deteriorated even further. But in 1984, we got a grant from North Carolina Historic Preservation, or through them, and we started a restoration effort on Harmony Hall. And we saw it through, and about 1988, we had pretty much finished that, and we, in the process, we had also moved 10 buildings to create a village atmosphere. And we moved an old cabin from off of my farm, a one-room log cabin that some early settlers built. And we also moved a little cabin that was over at White Lake that was used as a motel or whatever. There were a lot of these little cabins sitting around, and people would go there and stay. It's not 10 by 10, but it's log and it's in great condition. We moved that as a gatehouse right there in front of Harmony Hall. We also moved a corn crib right across from the gatehouse that kind of gives the impression of being stables or whatever. We moved Tatum's store there, which was a turn of the century country store. We moved a chapel from down at Kelly, just a little one-room chapel. We moved it there. We moved a one-room schoolhouse from over near White Lake, a little community called Collie. We moved a little Brisson log cabin that has really deteriorated considerably. We also moved a little cottage, a little one-bedroom cottage from there in Elizabethtown that was built in the early 1800s. And we've turned that into basically a rental property. We allow someone to stay there, and they sort of serve as a caretaker too. Moved Singletary's store there, and we moved, and it serves as our guest reception area and whatever, and a little country store that we keep some trinkets in there to sell, cookbooks and things of that sort. And then we moved a smokehouse there. And so we got a lot of buildings to take care of, and we don't have any money to do it with. As you know, with preservation, it's an ongoing thing. We just put a roof on Harmony Hall itself, cost $8,000. We were going to put cypress shakes on there, and I found some, but the cost was just prohibitive. They would have come out of Mississippi. And so we ended up using cedar shakes. And they turned out very well. And we also just recently put on the little one-room cabin that came off of my farm, we put a roof on it, and we used the cedar there also. And a Boy Scout earned his Eagle Scout, helping put the roof on. He lined up. We've had about 10 Eagle Scout badges earned there at Harmony Hall through the years. We've had 3 Boy Scout troops that we work closely with, and they just use Harmony Hall to get Eagle Scout badges. So the effort's ongoing. In '88, we acquired 102 acres of land to go with the house, and it belonged to the Layton family too. And we got some grants and a number of different things, and they sold it to us at a real bargain. The Layton family was in Florida at the time, an absentee landowner, and so we've basically got 104, right at 105 acres of land now there with it, and it runs from River Road all the way to the Cape Fear River. And we've got a walking trail all the way to the river. And actually you can drive a golf cart or a truck, four-wheel drive truck, whatever. And so we try to keep that maintained. Hurricane Matthew gave us a tremendous gift of blowing down about 20 oak trees across the path. And so that was a real job to get that cleaned up. We, like I say, it's an ongoing battle trying to raise money, and we've tried everything in the world from barbecue cooks to, and it's you know how that goes. You just work yourself to death, make a couple $100. we've kind of moved on and tried to approach it from another means. There were 4 fields that totaled about 25 acres on the 102 acres. And when we got it, those fields had grown up in loblolly pine. So almost 40 years later, those things are merchantable. And so we're going to cut the timber. And that'll give us quite a bit of funds and ought to help us with our restoration effort, particularly on the other buildings that are really, some of them getting in bad condition. And we're going to replant it in longleaf pine. That's what would have been there before, and try to get some longleaf back on the property. There's not any at all currently. Loblolly is like a weed. It'll just squeeze out longleaf, and that and the sweet gum tree. Don't get me started on sweet gum trees. But they're not good to we foresters. In doing my research on Colonel Richardson, I also just happened to notice that the Duplin militia served with Colonel Richardson quite a bit. And the Duplin militia was at the Battle of Guilford's Courthouse. And they were in the line right beside Colonel Richardson and the Bladen militia. And I was able to find a roster of Duplin County militia. And it is real extensive. And I printed a copy of it off for anyone who might want it. There was a fountain in there, and it's probably been in his brother's ancestor. And so you're welcome to look at that, and hopefully you can find a kin person on there, and then you can join John's organization back there. So, we do have 2 events each year at Harmony Hall, and I'd love to invite y'all to attend. One will be May 16th, and we call that our homecoming. And we try to, a number of us set up. I have a collection of Rev War arms that I display there, and a lot of other memorabilia from the Rev War, colonial currency, things of that sort. And also we have a Christmas program the first Sunday or the first Saturday in December, and we also open that to the public. We're open daily, Sundays, we're open on Sundays from 2 to 4 each week. We only close for Christmas. We normally don't open up Christmas if it's right around there. But we'd love to invite any of you to attend those events. I also want to invite you to Moores Creek. Our reunion's coming up the last Saturday and Sunday in February this month. And we would love to have you come to the Moores Creek celebration. I'll be set up there with my colonial display along with some other folks. Come hear the cannon fire, if nothing else. It'll brighten your day. And that pretty much covers what we've got going on at Harmony Hall right at the present time. Recently, it was deeded to the Bladen County Historical Society. Recently, the Bladen County Historical Society is really just about gone defunct. Everybody sort of aged out. That was the real ramrods. And so we created Harmony Hall Plantation Village. And the deed was transferred to Harmony Hall Plantation Village. And so now we've got a board of directors pretty much running that. They're all pretty new. A few of us are still around, myself and a couple of others, but pretty much we got a new new sheriff in town, I guess, and hopefully it's going to work out for the best. I've often said about Harmony Hall, you know, we call it Harmony Hall, and sometimes it was not Harmony Hall when you deal with a lot of different volunteers and personalities, and so we've had our peaks and valleys for sure. But I hope for the best with the new group that's in charge now, and hopefully they'll get us back on the right track and get us going again. But it's everything's still functioning, and we'd love to have you come and visit. Yes.
Is there a fee charge?
No, we charge no fee.
We went years ago before anything was ever done. We had to park way down the road.
Wasn't a road in there, that's
and
right.
walk through Sandsburg and Scrub Oak. And I remember it, and I'd like to see it again. But
Yeah, I'd love to.
sometimes you don't have the money with you.
Yeah,
If you know what it's gonna cost, you'll have it.
It doesn't cost a thing in the world. We take donate. We got some donation jars sitting around.
Okay,
Trust me,
good.
but don't charge a thing in the world. Yes.
Have you narrowed the construction date down any more than what's printed?
I have, or we think we have. We think it was built in 1760. The first deed reference I can find for Colonel Richardson, I found a 1749 date on a deed registered there in Bladen County. Well, really, it was a re-record. I think it was re-recorded after the courthouse burnt in 1789, but it's got a 1749 date on it. So he came upriver. He married a local girl, a Purdy, whose father owned the plantation right across the river from him. Wasn't in walking distance, but it was in rowing distance, I guess. And, he apparently built a house around 1760. The little cabin that sits there next to it that came off my farm was built around 1750, we think. It's probably the earliest structure in Bladen County. It was log, and then they board and battened it, put board and batten around the logs later on. We had a chronodendrologist. Don't ask me to spell that, but it's a study of woody plants, and he can age the age of a building from the growth rings in the sills. Basically we have to go to the sills. We took core samples, and that's really not what they want to do. What they want to do is get a slice. Well, we weren't willing for him to slice a piece of the seal off of the end, and so we did the best we could, but he concurred with the 1760 date. And so we're pretty confident that's when it was built. I had some before and after pictures. I left them in my truck. I'll be glad to go get them, and you can look at them. Yes, sir.
I got one more question. We used to have two very faithful members of our society from Bladen County. Wanda Campbell,
Yes,
Liv Turner, and Billy Herring? No?
Billy Herring, there was a Billy Herring.
Are they still?
No. Now, Seth Lewis, was he one of your members, or did you say Seth?
No.
Okay. Miss Wanda is deceased. And Miss Wanda was really the ramrod behind Harmony Hall. She was the mover and shaker. She made it happen. I apologize for not mentioning her earlier, but she was instrumental in getting the Layton family to donate it, and then was real instrumental in getting that grant. She was the clerk of court there in Bladen County. Her husband was clerk of court for years. He went off to World War II. She served as clerk of court while he was away. When he came back, he took right back over, and she served under him till he retired, and then she continued on for about 10 years after that. So she was a workaholic, but She was a wonderful lady, a dear friend of mine, and I dearly miss her. I served with her and two other widow ladies on the cemetery project, where the state of North Carolina had us all go around and try to find all the old lost cemeteries in the county. And I served with those three ladies. I had a four-wheel drive Jeep Cherokee. And so my Saturdays consisted of going to the woods with three women.
Weren't you lucky?
I was. I tell you what, I had a blast. And so we found a lot of cemeteries. They would copy them, and they always said that I could smell them out, that I had a sixth sense, and I really feel like I do. I just I'll be on a track of timber, and I'll get the heebie-jeebies, and I'll find a cemetery. It just I just feel like I've got they're talking to me. I don't know. Hate to go there with that, but it just seems like I do. Any other questions about Harmony Hall? Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment that I went one cold winter day, sunny Sunday, and they had a fire in the fireplace there, and it's just such an authentic place,
Right.
and you really feel like you're stepping back in history. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, no other place I've been to around here. I mean, it has this rustic feel, and I mean the yard is still like sandy. It's
Yep.
still, so it hasn't been gentrified in any way, and I mean, and you really can see how they lived. You can see between the floorboards. And I mean,
Yeah, you can stand down in the basement and
Yeah, it was just amazing.
see what's going on above you.
You go see it. It's a really special place out there, and it's just a beautiful setting out there.
It has a little, the house really, I meant to tell you more about it. It's basically just a four-room house. It's basically 3 stories, but on the bottom story, there's a room on the right, there's a room on the left, and a big wide foyer that goes all the way through the house. And the house is basically set up east to west. And the front of the house faces the river. Actually, when you pull up now, you pull up to the back of the house. The back of the house is what you see first. You have to walk all the way around to see the front of the house. The second story, same thing, 2 rooms, big wide foyer. There is a loft, and there are a set of stairs going up to the loft, and the loft is one humongous room, and I mean, you can stand up. It has a high ceiling. So I'm sure they use that as a sleeping loft or whatever. All the porches, we got porches.
When we were there,
2
the
levels.
stairs went up the outside.
Yeah, never any evidence of an inside set of stairs. They went up the outside, and apparently that's the way they always were. We've never found any evidence whatsoever of any interior stairwork. The house, probably no one was in the house when you visited
There
with
was someone there.
Yeah, we had a guy
There
to
was someone there.
just take up residence. And, I mean, we couldn't get him out. I mean, it was, he was a real, I mean, he was a
Gentleman there.
scalawag too. We had a time with that rascal. And
I was amazed at, and this has been a long time ago, as you know, at the wide boards.
yeah,
Wide
tremendously wide boards.
Yeah.
Most of it heart
Square
pine.
bushes.
And the sills are heart pine. The sills are, they're about 14 by 14. They're humongous sills. The little basement, I guess you'd call it a basement or a root.
We did not go to that.
Yeah, or a root cellar.
Brickwork's beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, it's impressive,
and
massive.
and in the basement, they look like loopholes, like you would fire through, all on all 4 sides. And so, we don't know whether that was a defensive measure that they had, where they could take shelter in the basement and fight off whoever, but, and it probably had nothing in the world to do with that, but they are, you know, the way loopholes are, they fan out, fan in and fan out, and that's the way these are. We found what we think are stables, foundations for the stables on the far left of the house, and they're basically brick and river ballast stones are what we're using in that foundation for those stables.
Have you had state archaeologists to look at it?
Oh yeah, we've had archaeologist guys down a number of times, and historic preservation still has covenants on the house, and within 100 yards of the house, we can't trim any trees down 12 inches DBH or greater, or unless nature kills them and we have to take them down to protect the house. Number of covenants concerning we've got to maintain it in a historic manner. There wasn't ever any evidence of any electricity being in there, but the guy that stayed there was bleeding electricity from somewhere. We don't know. He was stealing it from a neighbor or whatever. But like I say, we had an ordeal with him. He just moved in, a vacant house.
Now, is this the state or is this federal?
It belongs to Harmony Hall Foundation too.
Do you have a brochure with the state?
I should have brought some with me. I apologize.
Does the state tax travel and tourism have any of your brochures?
I don't know. We've got a website.
Well, as long as you've got a website, I can think of it.
Yeah. You can go on the website and Harmony Hall, just Harmony Hall, type in Harmony Hall and it'll pop up. And we're funded totally by donations. We don't have any source of revenue other than we are going to cut those trees and replant the longleaf. That's about the story of Harmony Hall. We're still surviving, and hopefully we will continue to with God's grace. And I hate I had to follow Mr. Hardy. My goodness, what a speaker to follow.
Well, you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.